So overall, I do think this is a good idea to implement, and I'm excited for the Ladder 2 launch to try out these charms and play the game without immunities, kind of. So something that Hans said in my chat that I feel like really captures what this patch actually does, or even just this PTR or Ladder 2 in general. Diablo is a game about killing monsters and getting loot. Not only in the last patch, they changed the way that getting loot is done with the terror zones. It's going to be much easier to get Tyrell's Might and the super rare items, just because in those terror zones, every monster has a chance to drop, not just some elite pack. And in addition to that, extra experience you get is going to be really, really powerful towards hitting 99. I'd say the core of Diablo 2 is shifting a little bit. It's not the meta that is shifting so much. I mean, that already kind of did shift, but it's more like we're actually playing a different game. So I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from with all this stuff. As far as like the good things for this patch, I do think it's great for the game to evolve and grow into something bigger, take community feedback and adjust things accordingly. I don't think it gets much better than that. So that's part of the reason why I'm excited for these changes. Now, to me personally, I would say that this change I would want to see as a temporary change for a much better and bigger fix in the future. I don't think that this is the best way to go and implement something that's this massive of a change, actually two massive changes. I do think that it is a start, though. I think we can learn a bunch of things about what we do like and what we don't like. So I do think that overall this is a good thing to do, and it's a good thing to experiment, and it's awesome to try something new in a game that we all love. So some of the bad things about this patch is that power creep is starting to become a thing, and I'm getting a little bit of, you know, some D3 vibes in the back of my head. Not that it's there yet, but I'm just mentioning that that is some of the vibes I'm getting here. So I'd be really careful about our next steps. Now let me explain and break that down a little bit more. The Javazon, for example, which is the strongest DPS AoE clearing build in the game, it's now actually stronger because with the Sunder Charm, it brings everything's resistance down to 95, and then after the Infinity comes in and deals a crap ton of damage, with that Conviction lowering the resistance even more. So now that build is actually even stronger and has a higher damage output than it did before. So that's one form of power creep that we're seeing. And then the other form of power creep that I'm seeing here that comes along with this, and I'm being a little bit specific and picky about this because I'm passionate about Diablo 2, is the itemization. It's a lot easier now to actually get things like Griffins and get things like Crown of Ages. Not necessarily that it's a bad thing per se, but like as far as the core of Diablo 2, the itemization power creep is actually starting to become a thing here. If it was individual or separate from all these other changes, I wouldn't see this as necessarily a bad thing, but I see it as like a bad thing because the combination between the terror zones and the itemization, I do see this as power creep. So for the example, it's even easier to get your Griffins than it was before, and in addition to that, your Javazon is just even more powerful than it was before. So those two things, I'm getting a little bit of red flags here. That might not be an issue for like casuals, and maybe it's just me being an elitist speaking up about this and me being like, hey man, I played Diablo 2 for a long time and I like it a certain way. I actually do want Diablo 2 to be accessible to more people. Personally, to me, I really feel like there's better ways to go about doing this. As you can see in my BT Diablo mod, if you've ever watched that, I made it so all the zones in hell difficulty are level 85, and that fixes two major problems. If every zone is 85, it means that your immunity issue kind of goes away. You can farm with any build you want because now you don't have to go to that specific zone. And then talking about not going to a specific zone, it also kind of alleviates a lot of the Enigma problem because now you don't have to go to a place super fast. It's now more of a quality of life thing rather than an absolute requirement to be competitive with other people, because you could just go right outside of town and start killing monsters and you're being almost as efficient as some of the best farming spots because it's an 85 zone. Everything can drop there, and that's great. I do love the rotation of terror zones, and I think that's kind of cool, but I do think paired together that these changes are massive. If you were just to change the terror zones and make those monsters not immune anymore, then great. That's what originally I was trying to say when I first brought this up. I was also mentioning that like cold mastery is going to be a bigger problem because it's just stronger. It's not hard to fix that because all you have to do is just make cold mastery do plus skill damage, just like the fire and the lightning masteries. So with all this being said, basically I am excited for Ladder 2. I would love to see this be like a season theme and a temporary thing. I don't really want to see the Sunder charms the way they are currently implemented to be a permanent thing. I think it's good to get it out and just let's have a ladder, let's play and have some fun for a little bit. But I do think that in the future for Ladder 3 and onward, we can have some better solutions for some of these big problems. For example, like the immunities and things like that. Changing both the way you kill monsters through their immunities and adding the terror zones, again, like I said, we are getting the result of just a different game. We'll see how this all pans out. I still am very excited. What do you guys think about all of this stuff? There's a lot going on here, and basically with this different game, we don't have 20 years of experience on how the game plays out with all these types of things. This is a new thing. We have the terror zones and we have the new immunities breaking a specific way, so it's like, all right, let's see how it goes. Let me know, guys, in the comments what you guys think about all of this madness and what are some of the other videos that you would like me to cover about these subjects. Anyways, I will catch you guys later. You are all beasts.